We just had this huge protest in Portland where the police were approved on a pay raise, and that causes people to riot, not maybe riot, but protest in the street, and in some cases quite vehemently. I mean, really? Well, this is going on all over the country, folks. Let's talk to Robert Caltabiano this morning. 28 years in law enforcement, global security, a lot of time at the U.S. Secret Service. He knows about this drill, especially the hiring in part. He did it himself at one time. Robert, good morning.
Good morning.
This was a great job to have. Is it still a great job?
Well, in my mind, it is. It is a noble calling, as President H.W. Bush said many times, public service. It's a matter of how we're looking at things. It's a matter of how the community is looking at things. And, first of all, my heart goes out to the families of the two police officers in Boston that have been shot within the last 24 hours. And so what we're seeing is, it's a trifecta, what you were just talking about. We're seeing young people today looking at this as a job and not as a lifestyle in many ways. We're looking at the fact is that the recruitment itself, whom they're getting to apply for these jobs, and many of them, unfortunately, are not making it through the process, whether it's a societal thing or things in their background that are not moving them on, and then how, the media, how things are being portrayed on police officers. And, you just said something really interesting out in the West Coast, that they're protesting because to give a raise to police officers. A lot of police officers are struggling out there financially because they don't earn a lot of money. And people don't understand that. You have police officers and their families struggling day to day to make ends meet, or they're having to take other jobs because of the pay, yet they still want to go out there every day and put their life on the line.
Well, that's it. There's plenty of people who don't make a lot of money, but it's that factor coupled with the risk where you say,
yes.
So what's the upside for me? If you have a young wife, she says, sweetheart, we have a child, I got one on the way. What's the upside for us? Well, if the person can answer back, Robert, well, it's a calling. Well, it's hard to argue with that. But if it's just a job, you can come up with a lot of arguments and say no.
Yeah. When I started in law enforcement almost 30 years ago, I didn't look at the pay. It wasn't about the pay. It was the adventure. It was the job itself. And, we did, back in the 80s, you didn't get, there wasn't a lot of money you were earning. But you didn't think about that. You thought about what you were doing. You thought about the mission, and it's getting out there in the relationships with people. And now I think on the flip side today, it's the people that have to have the relationships, and how are we helping each other in communities. And I see that slipping away in many ways. Do
you worry about young people now, not just the ones you say, have maybe been out in the streets and they're protesting, but those who are very young who, this is when I was a kid, I was first grader, the guy showed up from the police department on the motorcycle, and we saw him pull in dressed in the full, look, if you didn't think that was cool, holy smoke. This guy has got the coolest job. Now, maybe that isn't, lots of different forms of law enforcement, but the guy in the full leather showing up on the motorcycle, my first grade class, we were like, at least with the guys in class, we were like, wow, this is unbelievable. And that's where it begins. Is that not going to be the same for the next generation?
I think I see a shift in that in many ways, but I also see a shift in the families, because how many families actually talk at the dinner table anymore? And that's where everything starts. And so when we see a change in the families, you're seeing that on society itself. You're seeing it on our first responders. I know what I do with my children, and they vary from 23 down to 7, is that a few times a year we go to our first responders, our police department and our local fire departments, and we'll bring them some food or maybe some donuts, some coffee or something, and just to say thanks. But you have to inculcate that into them, and then those kids will grow up and have a sense of work. But when you turn on the television and everything is negative, and that's what you're getting, and it has a drastic effect on the recruitment of police officers. Why should they go through it? Why should anybody go through this? And it's a tough thing because we need them. We need them really bad.
And then you wonder, are we getting the best, the brightest, those who truly believe it's a calling? Maybe they're multi-generational, as many officers and firefighters are. Or are we getting Now do we have to settle and say, well, we haven't got a good turnout at the academy, so we're going to have to drop our standards to here, to here, to here? That's a serious question too, isn't it?
Yeah, and that poses a serious risk because of that. If you look at statistics, if you start dropping the requirements, you're going to get what you get. So if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you're getting. And so that's when you see sometimes mistakes happening on the law enforcement side. Not all the times, because most of it you can't help it, but you do see that. There's a correlation between that. You should not drop the standards. We do not want that in our. We want our police department to be the best of the best that they can. Our firemen to be the best of the best. Does that mean you're going to have as many of them? It may not be.
There's issues out
the risk.
Yeah, there's issues out there around the country right now. We've had it here in the capital of the state of Michigan in hiring new officers, getting the funding. You get the funding lined up suddenly, you're not able to fill the spots, and then you wonder where that ends. Robert Caltabiano, most of his career with the United States Secret Service here, global security analyst, law enforcement. Robert, always appreciate. Where can we find you online?
You can find us online at www.deputizeamerica.org.
Deputizeamerica.org.
America.org.
It's great to have you on the other end of our line. You're not talking into your sleeve like the Secret Service, but we do appreciate you being here. Thanks, Robert.